Do I hear a motion that the board adopt a resolution urging the South Carolina General Assembly to repeal the 2021-2022 Budget Proviso 1.108?
Madam Chair, I move that the board adopt a resolution of the Lexington County School District One Board of Trustees urging the South Carolina General Assembly to repeal the 2021-2022 Budget Proviso 1.108.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Guyton. All right.
Do you want me to read the proviso?
That would be
Or the
for discussion.
resolution?
Yes, thank you.
All right, this is the resolution. Whereas South Carolina is among the top 10 states in the nation having the highest number of COVID-19 cases per capita, averaging 5,500 cases a day. And whereas the South Carolina Children's Hospital Collaborative recently stated that the number of children ages 0 to 17 in the state requiring hospitalization, including critical for COVID-19, is rising at an alarming rate. And whereas the Lexington County School District One, the number of students and staff who have tested positive so far this school year is 2,280, which has resulted in a quarantine of 13,028 students and staff. And whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommends universal indoor masking by all students aged 2 and older, staff, teachers, and visitors to K through 12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. And whereas the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control strongly recommends universal mask wearing for teachers, staff, and parents in school. And whereas local school boards and superintendents who ultimately bear the responsibility for the well-being of students and staff need flexibility, not limitations, when carefully weighing health and safety guidance at the local, state, and federal levels to make decisions for the students and staff in their communities. And whereas local school districts leaders are best positioned to monitor and modify safety protocols and make the best decision to keep students and employees safe. And whereas mitigation measures are virtually important to maintain in-person, full-time education to ensure students do not fall behind scholastically or socially. And whereas Proviso 1.108 serves as a barrier for school district leaders to consider every recommended mitigation measure available for the protection of the health and safety of students and staff. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Lexington County School District One Board of Trustees, by this resolution, strongly urges members of the South Carolina General Assembly to reconvene immediately and repeal Proviso 1.108. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution are being furnished to members of the Lexington County Legislative Delegation and communicated to our parents, businesses, and school supporters. If adopted, this will be adopted the 21st day of September 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in and think that the first paragraph needs to go out because it's kind of old data. Does anyone have any objections to us working through this together?
You know, as I reviewed this resolution and kind of thought about it over the weekend and sort of working through it, I don't like the focus on just masks or, you know, just it's more than that. I think it's what we've talked about before this. It's about what is the line and what are the lanes in which we operate within. And I, for one, personally, always think local decision-making is better than central decision-making, and within reason. I mean, there's obviously some things that are just, you know, we're not going to go repeal a seatbelt law, for crying out loud. But I think there are some things that we know what's best for our students, and it may be best for those students at one school, or it may be best for students at one in one class. And so in my mind, I have played this out in thinking that, you know, I would love a conversation about this, but I think there's probably some time for reflection and a time for tabling to put forth our recommendations to Tracy or to whomever we choose to make whatever adjustments we deem personally necessary, and then at that point bring it back together as a cohesive document, because, you know, honestly, in the conversations I've had with legislators, even if the General Assembly reconvened, it only takes one person to basically filibuster, and then at that point, it becomes a moot point. And so really, we're saying, hey, you guys need to get back together, but we all know that they're not coming back together when one person can block it. And so I hate to do things as a point of futility, but I do think, as a board, I think there is value in saying, hey, sometimes some decisions are best left to local decision-making authorities. And I'm not saying for mask, against mask. I'm not saying for quarantine, against quarantine. I'm just saying in general. And so when we create laws, those laws need to allow us flexibility to operate. Don't make decisions when everything is just going great. You have to make decisions when also things are going bad. And so I would make the recommendation to table this for comment.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I'm just going to give a little bit of a counterpoint, and then I'll take up the motion to table. That I think one of the reasons this was brought to us by the School Board Association for consideration is because the General Assembly is reconvening the first week in October. And the thought was to ask them to take up the repeal of the proviso at that time, because otherwise they will not come back specially for this. But the thought was that perhaps they would add this to their sign die resolution agenda items, because if we don't get this resolution forwarded to our legislative delegation before they reconvene, and they're scheduled to reconvene, I think October 4th, 5th, something like that, then it will be February before they do this. And so it's just the question, do we think that it's urgent enough that we have this tool in hand in the event that something goes on wonky with COVID this fall and winter, or are we just want this to more be a statement of that we just want things to be, then to consider that rules like this should be left to the local boards. I mean, is it more of a general statement of you've overstepped this time, or in our mind you've overstepped and you've taken away tools for us, or is it prescriptive and we want them to fix it so that we can take action if needed? And I think that's where the question is for me.
And I would support, go ahead and take action on this, because again, I want to keep our kids in school, and I want to reduce the community spread. So I think ultimately the state should not mandate what school districts should do to control infections.
So Dr. Cotton, did you want to move to table it?
Yeah, I did move to table.
Okay.
Well, I may not have been clear. My apologies.
Okay. Do I have a second on the motion to table the resolution?
Second.
All right, Mr. Anderson. All right, we have a motion and second to table the resolution. If you would, all in favor of tabling the resolution, please raise your hand. All right. All opposed? All right, and so the motion is tabled. The resolution is tabled. Board, please do take a look, spend some time on this, and we will add it to our meeting in October. And if you have any additions, changes, corrections that you want to incorporate, send them to Tracy, and we will consider those at our October meeting.
Can I just say something as well? In the meantime, I would like the district to look at what Ms. Tashkandi gave us, because there are several other mitigation strategies that, like she said, are being not considered, or they're inconsistent. So I don't think mask is the end-all be-all answer to everything. And I think it would just be helpful if those were looked at in the meantime.
Thank you, Ms. Garris. That's a good idea. And she did have some helpful things in what she provided to us. Dr. Little, did y'all receive a copy? You got a copy of that, didn't you? Okay. All right. I believe that is all for 10.0.